What if I told you your cat already has silent rules for you? Rules I expect you to follow every single day. Most humans think food, water, and attention are enough. They're not. I notice things you never think about. The way you look at me, the way you touch me, the moments you ignore me without even realizing it. And every small thing changes how safe I feel around you. That's the part most owners never understand. Cats don't argue. We don't explain when something hurts the bond. We just slowly become quieter, more distant, less trusting. And by the time humans notice it, it's usually already been happening for a long time. So let me show you the unspoken rules cats silently expect from the people they choose to trust. Starting with one almost everyone gets wrong: eye contact. You probably think that if a cat looks into your eyes, it means you're having a special moment. Not exactly. When a human stares directly into a cat's eyes for too long, especially up close, it can start to feel like pressure. Especially when your face suddenly appears right in front of mine, and you're looking at me like you're waiting for some deeply important life advice. Honestly, that's a little suspicious. That's why many cats look away after a few seconds, or suddenly pretend the wall has become incredibly fascinating. But there's a huge difference between a human looking at a cat and a cat choosing to look at a human. Because if I look into your eyes first and then slowly blink, that's something completely different. That's not tension, that's trust. For a cat, slowly closing our eyes near someone is a very calm gesture. It's how we show that we don't expect danger from you. And this is usually where humans ruin it. Because instead of relaxing, they start staring even harder. Sometimes I think humans genuinely believe that if they stare at a cat long enough, we'll finally explain why we were running through the apartment at 3 in the morning. But do you know what actually works? Slowly blinking back. No sudden movements, no leaning over me, and no instantly grabbing me because it's cute. And yes, cats notice that. Some cats will come closer afterward. Some start relaxing around their humans more. And some, for the first time, begin to feel like they can fully let their guard down around you. And eye contact is far from the only thing cats quietly judge humans by every day. There's something else. Your voice. There's one thing that causes humans and cats to completely misunderstand each other all the time: punishment, long after something already happened. For example, you come home, see a broken flower pot, a knocked over glass, or a torn bag. Look at your cat and immediately think, all right, this was definitely you. And this is where humans make the same mistake over and over again. If you catch me in the exact moment, there's still a chance I'll connect your reaction to what just happened. But if time has already passed and the cat has mentally moved on to something completely different, the human suddenly walks over with a very serious face, points at the mess, and starts speaking in a strict voice. And at that moment, the cat is usually trying to understand only one thing. Wait, why did you suddenly become so tense? Because cats don't replay past events the way humans do. We don't sit there an hour later thinking, yeah, maybe touching that flower really was a mistake. If the reaction doesn't happen immediately, the connection between the event and your emotion disappears very quickly for us. That's why human discipline talks later on may sound extremely serious. But to a cat, they just feel like sudden, unpredictable frustration. And do you know what happens instead of a lesson? The cat starts connecting that tension not to the action, but to the human, to your voice, to the way you approach us, to your mood. That's why some cats start behaving strangely after situations like this. Not because they understood they were guilty, but because now they're trying to figure out when the human might suddenly become upset again. And yes, cats notice unpredictability very quickly, especially when the rules in the house constantly change. One day, the human laughs because I jumped on the table. The next day, they're irritated by it. Then suddenly, it's allowed again. To humans, that feels small. To a cat, it feels like living with a creature whose rules update every single day. And despite the stereotypes, cats actually love predictability. Which is why there's one thing cats value far more than most humans realize: rituals. There's one thing humans usually underestimate about cats: how deeply we get attached to small repeating things. Cats notice the rhythm of a home far more than people realize. What time you usually wake up, how your footsteps sound in the morning, even the way you say hello when you walk through the door. And yes, if something suddenly changes, cats almost always notice immediately. That's why many cats start waiting for their human before they even hear the keys. Because we remember patterns, the rhythm of the house, the rhythm of a person, the rhythm of safety. To humans, it's just an ordinary day. To a cat, it's a system of signals that tells us everything is okay. And here's the funny part. Humans often think a cat randomly shows up at the same time every day. No, I know exactly when you usually go to the kitchen, when you sit down to work, and when you finally put down that glowing rectangle and remember there's also a very handsome and slightly under-petted cat living in this house. That's why cats become attached to rituals so quickly. Those little routines create a feeling of stability. And for cats, stability is directly connected to safety. And yes, we really do notice when a familiar ritual suddenly disappears. Humans think it's a small thing. For a cat, it can feel like a tiny piece of their world quietly vanished. And there's something else cats react to far more emotionally than humans expect. Closed doors. And finally, closed doors. To humans, it's just a door. To cats, it feels a little more complicated than that, especially when you close it right in front of us. And yes, that's exactly why so many cats immediately follow you. Not because we desperately need that specific room. Sometimes we just want to understand something else. Why did the human suddenly disappear? And what exactly is happening in there without me? Because for cats, the home is shared territory. And when part of that territory suddenly becomes inaccessible, many cats become more unsettled than they show. Some scratch at the door, some sit there quietly, and some act like they absolutely don't care, while somehow still refusing to leave. Cats are actually very good at pretending not to care during extremely emotional situations. That's why humans often don't even notice the moment when a cat truly starts trusting them. Because it doesn't look like a big event. It looks like lots of tiny changes. The cat sleeps more peacefully near you, stays closer to you more often, becomes less tense around your movements and voice. And if that happens, then to a cat, you're no longer just a human living in the house. You become a place that feels safe.